And there we have it. Finally, the most tangible and real information and confirmation that a Nintendo Switch successor is on its way. It's the LP Podcast. Hello and happy Tuesday. It's the day of the week where I do more talking than playing of Nintendo games, but Nintendo's the topic all the same. Specifically, this little tidbit of news, this tasty little morsel, this delicate little nugget that was dropped overnight by Nintendo's official Twitter account, or X account, or Zitter, or Twix, or whatever, I don't know. But it was stated here in the translation, this is Furukawa, president of Nintendo. Oh goodness. Someone gave Dad the keys to the social media. We will make an announcement about the successor to the Nintendo Switch within this fiscal year. So, within this fiscal year. We'll break this down sentence by sentence, but let's read it all first. It will have been over 9 years since we announced the existence of Nintendo Switch back in March 2015. We will be holding a Nintendo Direct this June regarding the Nintendo Switch software lineup for the latter half of 2024. But please be aware that there will be no mention of the Nintendo Switch successor during that presentation. So, going back up, we will make an announcement about the successor to the Nintendo Switch within this fiscal year. If you're not familiar with Nintendo's fiscal year, that will be wrapping up in March of 2025, so don't expect this to mean a guarantee of news in 2024. It's entirely possible, but is it likely? I'm not certain, because we do still have the big sales behemoth that is the holiday season in the latter half of this year, and I'm not certain that Nintendo will want to rain on that parade, right? They'll want to sell as many Nintendo Switch consoles and games for it, and perhaps announcing a successor to it or another console in the works, it could effectively dampen those rays. Who's to say though, because essentially the console's already announced here, right? Just because they haven't put out a date or anything concrete like that, this is confirmation of another console essentially being right around the corner. Okay, if you're familiar with Nintendo, you'd know that they don't talk about consoles. They don't publicly acknowledge the development of consoles until they're gosh darn ready for release. So with this, I hesitate to say we'll get anything. I would expect maybe in January or February, we get a Nintendo Direct in 2025, that is, of course. And that is the grand reveal alongside release date, almost similar to what happened with the Switch. I believe the Switch was fully announced in March of 2017, before it was ultimately released later that year, or the next year. I'm confusing my dates. Either which way, I don't think that the concrete announcement will come before the holiday season, but it's coming soon. It will have been over 9 years since we announced the existence of the Nintendo Switch back in March 2015. Look at that. If I would just, retain what I had read minutes prior or read one more sentence down the line, I'd know. So they announced it in March 2015, and then it released in March 2016. Let's get some confirmation of that real quick, because I think that's pertinent here as we talk about whatever the next console is. It was released, no, that's not it. April 20. I said Switch release date, not something for the Sega, March 3rd, 2017. Okay, so it was released 2 years after the announcement. That's kind of fascinating. Does that mean that we're still multiple years away from this next console? Who's to say? That surprises me in a way. Ordinarily, at least what I thought was the fact is that they announced the console and it comes out later that year, or even maybe 1 year away. But if the Switch is to be learned from, it came out 2 years after the official announcement or the announcement of the existence. And question here, does this tweet right here, does this count as announcing the existence of the Switch successor? I think it does. So maybe it's going to release in 2026. We're going to get the announcement in the fiscal year that it ends in March 2025. We'll get that announcement sometime in the early portion of 2025, and then it'll release the following year. That could be possible. In fact, I think that would make sense. Will it make some people sad? Undoubtedly. I mean, I'd like to get a new console sooner rather than later, but of course, as we all know, good Shiggy Mr. Motorcycle himself had said that a rushed game is always bad, but a delayed game is eventually good, and the truth holds the same for consoles as well. Next sentence, we'll be holding a Nintendo Direct this June regarding the Switch software lineup for the latter half of 2024. This is encouraging. A couple weeks back, we went over all of the things that we knew of that were planned for Nintendo's 2024, all the things that remain. And frankly, not a lot going on. So this is still pretty late in the year, right? June at the halfway mark. Hard to expect to get any wow blockbusters out of nowhere. They've been working on Banjo 3E or Super Mario Odyssey 2 or Princess Peach Makeup Racing 17. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. Ultimately, Nintendo is usually pretty decent at keeping secrets, keeping things under tight lock and key. So maybe we'll get something interesting. What is interesting to me about this is the fact that they're announcing a Nintendo Direct essentially a month early. Ordinarily, we're lucky if we get 2 days. We'll see Nintendo tweet out something or put out a press announcement. Hey, there's a Nintendo Direct in 14 minutes. What? What's up with that? But here we have a whole month. Should we read into that? Does that mean they've got something significant planned? It's hard to say, because they do then go on to clarify that there will be no mention of a different console other than the Switch, or at least no mention of the Switch's successor during this presentation. So with them putting that there, it's kind of difficult for me to conceptualize or to theorize what could it be, you know? What else could possibly be out there? Maybe a new Mario Kart game? That would be interesting. Have it release on the Switch and then release with the Switch's successor a year later, almost in the way that Mario Kart 8 did with the Wii U and then eventually the Switch. That could be very possible, and it would also help Nintendo sell even more Switch consoles, given the success of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Frankly, I would guess that that's probably the most likely of scenarios, just because it's been so long since the last Mario Kart numerical game, right? If you count Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe differently, which I suppose you can, then maybe it hasn't been as long, but even that, it's been friggin', 6 years or so? It's a pretty long time. So ultimately, the internet's going to be rife with speculation. I don't do a whole lot of that here. I kind of just throw my thoughts out alongside whatever the facts of the matter are. And this is what we know. All we know is that at some point in the next 10 months, we will get information about the next Nintendo console. What that's going to look like, what games are going to be on that, well, I suppose that's a topic for another time. But as for now, I'm just excited. Thanks for watching.